Wow, these shows. WCW Monday Nitro number 194, June 7th, 1999. Everything we are about to say is true, and actually aired on a nationally broadcast cable television show, primetime.
That's a good disclaimer, actually.
Yeah, I'm not bullshitting you. This happened.
I found the show to be kind of boring, but it wasn't like a horrible show. It's just like a really weird, kind of boring
show. The first hour was really boring.
It's begging for a finish.
Yeah.
So
it's better than Raw. I will actually say that this was a better show than Raw.
Well, let's get into these. A long white limousine arrived at the building. Randy Savage and his women stepped out, and they ordered the chauffeur to take a bucket out of the trunk and remove the lid. And then multi-time world champion, Hall of Fame wrestler, Macho Man Randy Savage picked up a bucket of poop and carried it into the building.
Factual.
He's wearing a pink feathered boa. He thinks he's Jesse Ventura now.
It's more
I guess,
of a
because he just kind of won the. I think it was '99 that he won the
it must
governorship.
be because he's at SummerSlam that year.
Yeah, so there you go.
Hack versus Prince Iaukea.
I should note, by the way, that Randy Savage has this bucket of sewage, and he's walking through the backstage area, and he's yelling at everybody and trying to have them get out of his way.
I would.
Like they needed to be told to get out of his way. So there's a group of guys standing around, and Randy Savage walks by this group of guys, and he shoves some geek in the back. Just some random geek backstage. This man no-sold the Macho Man Randy Savage. He didn't go stumbling forward. He didn't turn around. He just kept talking to his buddies. I howled. That was one of the first highlights of the show here. And then a lowlight.
Hack versus Prince Iaukea.
Yeah.
Hack comes out smoking a cigarette, and everyone working for the company is horrified.
Yeah.
Did he not smoke before?
Not on Nitro, I don't think.
But Big Show did.
Well, the bigger issue, Craig, is that it's okay to smoke. You just can't smoke during a match.
Shivani and Bishop
That's
are on
literally
commentary.
what they said.
Yeah, it's against corporate policy. This is banned, and everyone knows it. And all I can think is he's standing up to authority. They're trying to make Hack Steve Austin.
Sure.
Then I figured, well, Steve Austin.
You're wrong.
Steve Austin stole the beer drinking gimmick from Sandman, so why not?
Yeah.
But Vinny, you're wrong. Yeah. Hack was supposed to be a heel, even though he would not blow out his cigarette. And Eric Bischoff is supposed to be a babyface.
Right.
I'll take your word for it. I was confused because I know they've been trying to have Bischoff be a babyface lately, but he came off as the overbearing dickhead boss.
Yes.
And Hack came off.
Absolutely.
And Hack came off as the guy who defies authority.
Yes.
Therefore, he's a babyface.
Yes.
Well, the fucked up psychology is Hack is supposed to be a heel and Bischoff is supposed to be a babyface, and so we're supposed to cheer for Bischoff. But instead, it was just like, look at Eric Bischoff pretending to be a fucking tough guy.
Yes.
Slapping around Hack.
Think about that. The good guy is Eric Bischoff.
So J.J. Dillon comes out and says, Hack, you've gotten away with a lot of stuff, but this is where we draw the line. So for the record, you can hit a guy with a stick. You can hit a guy with a chair. You can hit a guy with a table, a trash can, that big giant surge bottle, whatever.
Sewage.
Sewage. Sure. But when you smoke a cigarette and smoke it yourself, that's too far. Bischoff hits the ring, tells Hack to put a cigarette out. The fans were chanting asshole. I am not convinced they were chanting it at either one, actually. Maybe both. Assholes. So Hack blows smoke in Eric's face. Security hits the ring. Eric waves them off, but then slaps Hack in the face. Are you certain he's a good guy?
Yeah.
He slaps Hack in the face, and then security tackles Hack. Bischoff takes a cigarette away and orders the match to start.
Yes. You have to imagine that in their universe, Eric Bischoff is Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Hack is Vince McMahon.
Closer, actually.
Yeah. That's why they went out of business. Because they didn't know what they were doing.
So they're doing this match. It's as bad as you would think. My favorite part, and apparently it was a planned spot because they repeated it.
Oh, hold on, before you go any further.
Okay.
So after all that bullshit that we talked about with Eric Bischoff goes back to the booth, and you know what he says?
I forget, but...
I have no authority. I just don't like smokers.
He did say that.
He had no authority to throw his weight around. But he just went up there and he slapped the talent, eviscerated them, emasculated them, made them look like a fucking idiot, and goes back to the announcer's booth just so they would get us to cheer Eric Bischoff.
So the spot I was referring to, Iaukea goes for an angle slam, and Hack, forget dead weighting, Hack drops to his ass. There's nothing else he could have done to fight this suplex more. So they start doing some stuff, and still soon there's chastity in the ring and a fire extinguisher and a table, but no smoking. That's important.
A table that was putting up a heck of a fight.
This table. Bulletproof. They should have made the limo out of whatever this table was made of in hindsight. Mm-hmm. They tried several times to break it. It didn't break, and finally Ikea just bounced off it, laid there, and apparently said, "Pin me." And Hack pinned him. Pinned him after whipping him into a table.
Bischoff just burying Hack. Keep in mind, Hack's going to win. He's going, guy's got no wind.
He's out of shape.
And I'm like, what the fuck's going on here?
He's a smoker. He doesn't
You
have
idiot.
And fat. Yeah. So Brian Knobs and Hugh Morris attack Hack, and who should run in and join the save but Billy Kidman?
Yeah, Kidman made the save.
Are Kidman and Hack a team now? What is going on?
Yeah, just another baby face. Because Hack, Vinny, wait a second.
See?
I don't know why the fuck he came in. Now I'm baffled.
Bischoff is railing about the drunk guys at ringside spilling beer on him. This was all very, very bad.
Also, little Billy Kidman taking on Knobs
And Hugh Morris. Yeah.
Just a note.
Fighting out of his weight division. He had a recap of the Sting, Steiners, and Tank Abbott stuff. And then a recap of Savage and his women beating up the Nash impersonator last week, and then Nash spraying sewage in Savage's limo. Bischoff lets us know, folks, the competition on the other show, the guy under the hood has the initials VM.
Yeah.
Then he says they just keep recycling the same crap over and over.
You know what's funny about it?
He's right.
He was right, but he didn't know he was right. He guessed.
Oh, really?
And so he was so happy when it turned out that he was right.
I didn't know that.
Yep, he did not know.
Damn it, I'm really sad he was right.
It wouldn't fucking mattered.
It would have made me laugh. He also joked about a big lawsuit Vince was facing at the time, and as soon as he said that,
It was Sable.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
This was the week that she filed her, I forget what it was, like $100 million, something crazy.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fast. She was working for him weeks ago.
Well, yeah.
Regardless, as soon as he mentioned this, Heenan and Shivani, shut up.
Well, yeah.
let's stay away from that one. Speaking of things to stay away from, Lenny, Lane, and Scotty Riggs.
Remember, like I've always said that all these fans want to see is wrestling.
Right.
God damn, were they determined to just prove me wrong. It's not even like they had that bad a match. Like, Lenny Lane sucks. Scotty Riggs was all right. He's actually pretty good. He's got his vision back. Now all of a sudden he's Rick the Model Martel.
Eyeball returned, yes.
Yeah. And they have a fucking 10-minute match.
Uh-huh.
I look at Craig. Was it 10 minutes?
It was close.
Fuck, I was right for once. They're out there for 10 fucking minutes. When's the last time Scotty Riggs was on this show?
Months.
When's the last
6
time
months
Lenny
probably.
Lane was on this show?
I don't know.
Yeah, months.
They throw these two fucking guys out here. Nobody gives a shit about them. Then they send out Lenny Lane. When's the last time Lenny Lane's been on this show?
Lodi.
Oh, yeah.
When's the last time he's been on the show?
The Flock at some
Nobody
point.
fucking knows.
Yeah.
This was just, oh my God. Riggs is Rick the Model Martel now. Riggs the Model Martel.
On that note, he's coming out with his mirror. And Eric Bischoff says, well, this is something Paul Orndorff used to do. Come on, Scotty, be original. Which would be fine, because obviously it's a geek gimmick, but hasn't Eric Bischoff been on this show for weeks telling us he personally is going to turn this show around and save it?
Right.
Yeah, now he's burying the show.
And he's burying the new gimmicks?
Fucking
If you're in
terrible.
charge, Eric, change it. If you hate this gimmick so much, give him a goddamn new one. Give him his eye patch back for all I care. Had a long, boring match. Lenny Lane's bleeding from the eye, maybe because he was wrestling with a pierced eyebrow. Don't do that, guys. Second match in the show, fans are chanting boring. Riggs wins with a fame asser. I really bad wanted to start drinking at this point.
You know, I used to have earrings, and I had like one in each ear. It did not matter. Every single match, I got them both torn out. Okay? Meanwhile, Tim Flowers had earrings all around his ear.
Yes.
Never came out.
No.
It's like,
Well, he was on
I'm doing
offense.
fucking something wrong.
Yeah, you were wrestling Tim Flowers. He beat you up for 20 minutes.
It wasn't with him. It was
I
just,
see.
You know, he didn't let anyone near his head. He was a lot smarter than I gave him credit for at the time.
Indeed. Ric Flair had a meeting with Chris Benoit, tried to regain his confidence after they had
Where
a
the hell's Molenko? Did he just walk out after last week?
I don't even care at this point.
He's gone for reprogramming.
His batteries ran out.
God, he doesn't he doesn't age well.
Malenko?
Yeah.
No, his character there was none. So anyway, Flair wants Benoit on his side. And Benoit says, I'm only here because I used to respect you. without, what do you say? Without hesitation. Now,
unconditional, but now it's very much conditional.
Now it's very much conditional, he says. And Flair says, look, all we did last week was prove that we're both great wrestlers. We should just fight alongside each other instead of against each other. He talked about the feud he had with Arn. They had to wrestle each other in Carolina, of course, but eventually they put everything back together. He begged Benoit to trust him. Benoit said he would consider it. At this point, Saturn barges in. Says, Kanyon will be there soon with a doctor's clearance. We want a tag title rematch tonight. Flair says, I'm sorry I can't do that. It's me and Benoit for the tag titles instead. This is news to Benoit. Saturn says, I'll get a title match someday, and he leaves. So Benoit recalls that Page and Bigelow had laid him out last week. He wants revenge on them. He wants the tag titles. He agrees to team with Ric Flair. Savage and his women come down to the ring with a bucket of poop. Savage says he has checked every crevice and every cleavage in the building looking for Nash. Which, frankly, if you're looking for Nash, is probably a good place to start. The man in the pink feather boa said he cannot afford to look ridiculous.
It was a coat.
He runs his mouth for a while about how Nash is on his level. He claimed he had saved the bucket of poop from the limousine last week and carried it around for 7 days. Dared anyone to come down to the ring. Sting came out on stage. Sting was in a mood this week. He's just on fire. He challenges Savage tonight. Savage accepted him, threatened to dump the bucket of poop on him. Savage declares Macho Madness is on Viagra and leaves.
Okay, so listen. When they did this fucking segment, it absolutely sucked. Okay, but there's a lot of segments that suck. When they did this whole goddamn segment where Savage comes out and he challenges Kevin Nash and Nash doesn't come out, and so he rants for another 6 minutes or whatever, and then they go to a commercial and they come back and out comes fucking Kevin Nash.
Yes.
Kevin Nash then calls out Savage.
Yes.
And fucking Savage comes out and we just started over. I was like, fuck you. This show fucking sucks.
It did.
And they went on and on. And Nash is like, I'll get in the ring, but you got to put down the bucket. I'm like,
did you mention
is this a fucking playground?
Yeah,
Yes.
And Nash had a bag.
No, I didn't mention he brought in a stupid bag.
Matt Nash had a stupid bag with him, which he laid
Brings
on
a
chair in the
stupid
ring.
fucking bag with him.
He had a great line, though. Nash said to Savage, I only brought one bag. You brought 3. I laughed.
I'm glad you loved it.
I like that before Savage came out, Nash is in the ring talking, and there's one guy who must have been right behind the announcers, because all he's doing is shouting and drowning out Nash saying, "You're nothing without Shawn Michaels! HBK!
Well, he's
HBK!
not fucking wrong.
Well, I know, but...
So finally this fucking bag, some contortionist come out of it. She gets the bucket, she pours it on Savage. Eric Bischoff, I want to publicly apologize to Michael Cole. Every one of the fucking WWE announcers has been forced to laugh at stupid jokes over the years. Eric Bischoff howls with fake laughter for hours. If this sucked before, he made it suck even worse.
He did.
Which is virtually impossible. Worst feud I've ever seen. They spent an hour cleaning up the ring afterwards.
Yeah.
I fucking hate this show.
Before the contortionist came out, I just want to add that Nash, he had some demands. He wanted the women to hold the ropes open for him.
He just had to keep making shit up because she couldn't get out of the bag.
Yes. It was Savage, actually, who said he said Kevin Nash is a stupid person and should admit he is a monkey. Again, I'm not making that up. Randy Savage said that. So Savage called Nash a coward. He's right. He's completely right. Kevin Nash is a coward, and as we'll learn later, a fool. So, yeah. And then this whole thing went forever. They went to break. They came back. It went forever again. And then they stayed there as these guys cleaned up the ring instead of going to a commercial.
Yeah.
Like, this...
Well, they wanted to make sure that you saw them cleaning up the ring so you knew that something was in the ring.
And you could see
Because it was such a valuable, important angle.
all the janitors, you could see their faces as they smelled something quite horrible.
Fuck.
Would this have been better if
No.
Okay.
It would have been better if it was not on television.
Would it have been better if we would have known the person that was in the bag?
No.
No? If it
Nothing
was
would
like
have made this better.
Okay.
Nothing.
So if the contortionist's name is Susan, you're going to like it more now?
No. I mean,
Jesus could have come out of that bag. This would have sucked. Just to use a religious reference, Craig, I apologize. Trying to think of somebody we all knew.
well, some of us.
That would have been newsworthy.
Okay. Ric Flair and Chris Benoit versus Dallas Page and Bam Bam.
But if it was
Bigelow.
Deborah? If it was China in the bag?
I'm just saying the girl was she was nobody. She was just somebody they hired from the circus to get in a bag.
So had it been, I don't know, Juventud Guerrera,
Sure.
you would have been fine with this.
I didn't say that. I said would it have been better?
It would have been dumber.
Okay.
The fuck's Hoovy doing in a bag? I mean, he'd fit.
I'm sure he's been in the bag many times.
God, this was horrible. It's unredeemable.
So these guys are wrestling in this now brown-stained canvas, not getting sick, just completely ignoring. And I don't blame them. They're just doing some stuff. Bischoff, who again said he's going to save the show. Fans like Chris Benoit because he's here to wrestle. He's not off making movies in Hollywood. Speaking of Hollywood, Hulk Hogan has a new movie coming out. Mm-hmm. I swear to God, in one breath. So they get the heat on Benoit. Goes on for a while, and he fights for a hot tag, and then Flair starts to leave him high and dry. And Flair backs down off the apron. He walks up the ramp. Everyone boos. Arn is bewildered. He tears his shirt off and jumps in the apron. But before we can find out whether his intentions were true, Saturn runs out instead. He jumps in the apron. Benoit tags Saturn. Saturn runs wild, and he looked awesome. Mm-hmm. God, when Saturn's good days were so good.
Except he almost killed DDP with an overhead belly to belly, dropping him in his head.
That did happen.
That's more DDP's fault.
He shouldn't have been so tall.
Right.
So, speaking of killing him, he just hit Page with a DVD and pinned him. Just a hot tag, a comeback, and a finish. That was it.
So fucking ironic that 19 years ago this week, they do this finish, and on Raw the night before, Bayley played the role of Saturn, and it was ruled that, in fact, their team did not win. Because you cannot run down and replace somebody. That's not allowed. WCW, they're the new WCW Tag Team Champions. And then, first off, I'd like to add that on commentary, Eric Bischoff had a gem. He goes, man, Flair, he's dropped a lot of weight, but his upper body is bigger.
So just in the
So he
calves.
stopped doing legs. Is that what you're saying?
I guess so.
It's supposed to be like a positive here. So anyway, last week they did the storyline with Canyon, and I was piecing it all together, and I was like, God damn, this is actually a really good storyline. I like where they're going here. Mm-hmm. Fucking next week, Canyon just comes out and he joins DDP and Bigelow. They could not have fucked it up more.
He runs out, he hugs Saturn, but then drops him with the flatliner, and the beating continues. If you're there watching this match, and you're about ready to align yourself with Dallas Page and Bam Bam Bigelow anyway, maybe you run out 2 minutes earlier so they don't lose the tag titles first.
No. They had to surprise us.
So there's new
by
champions.
killing this angle dead. Bullshit.
There's new champions, and the Jersey Triad are now a thing, although no one named them that yet. Oh, then this beatdown, by the way, you talk about the suplex. Their double team diamond cutters they were doing, I'm stunned there was not a fatality.
Gosh, that looks scary.
And speaking of stunned there's not a fatality, this I remembered. There's a lot of things in these Monday Night Wars, especially these two shows. A lot happened here. I will never forget the Falls Count Anywhere Mexican hardcore tag team match as long as I live.
Hey, this match, the actual match itself, was better than 99% of the hardcore matches we saw on Raw and Nitro during this era.
Yes.
Wasn't just a bunch of fuckers hitting each other with stuff.
Although there was that.
There was that. But like they did lucha with weapons.
Right.
Fucking great. Unless you were one of the goddamn announcers who buried them
the whole time
and mocked them and belittled them as they're outworking every other hardcore wrestler on this and the other show's roster. Why can't you go, look at what an awesome product we're delivering right here. These guys are fucking blowing out snow out of the water. Instead,
later.
They make fun of them. Ha 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 ha. Oh, they're falling down.
They were so...
That guy got hit in the head. Ha ha.
They were so concerned. Okay, this is a Mexican hardcore Falls Count Anywhere match. Mexican?
Yeah, Mexican.
And they laughed and laughed and laughed about that.
Yeah. Fuck them.
Dumb.
This match was great.
So among the high spots, we had a bunch of dives, of course, one of which to a guy sitting on a chair on the floor. Tornado DDT through a table on the floor. La Parka powerbombs Damien off the top rope through a table for 2. And then, I will say this, Bobby Heenan asked one good question. Why wouldn't you just stay down?
Well, before we get to the finish, because the finish was a negative, they had all of these crazy spots, including a spot where Silver King does Cyclope/Halloween, has a garbage can on his head. You ever had a garbage can on your head?
Never.
Okay, you can't see a goddamn thing. There's a fucking can on your head. He has to stand there with a can on his head and wait for, I believe it was Silver King, to do an acai moonsault. Yes, Silver King does an acai moonsault, and he's going to land on the can, on the guy's head, who can't see him coming.
Right.
This was the craziest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. What were they thinking here?
They were nuts.
So they do all these crazy spots, and then, like, the crowd is kind of into the high spots, but they're not that into the match. And finally, they go up top, and La Parka hits Damien with a top rope powerbomb, and he puts him through a table. And the fucking place goes crazy. Dude kicks out. Bobby Heenan's exact words were, "Take it home."
Yep.
That's what he said.
He did say that.
He goes, "Why do you kick out? Take it home." And he was fucking right.
Yeah.
Because what did they do after that? Parka goes, he puts 2 chairs out, and he power bombs the guy through 2 chairs and pins him. Now, in real life, that hurt a lot more than going off that middle rope through a table. But you know what? To the fans at home, a fucking guy landed on a goddamn chair. It was so much more cool to see the guy go through the big table off the middle rope. Why can't you just go home?
Call an audible.
Is it that hard?
Regardless, Parka powerbombed Damien onto 2 chairs. Not so much through, because they did not bend or
He
separate.
didn't move.
Nah, he just went through them.
No, he went onto them,
Yeah, and that was it.
and then he pinned him. This was very violent.
Very violent, flat finish.
A lot of
Know when to go home, everybody.
A lot of swinging weapons into the head and also throwing weapons into the head. The NWO team is backstage. Norton asks where the rest of them had been when the cat hit him with a tire iron. Why do they grab their bags and leave, he says.
Yeah, here's the key. He watched it on television.
He's the one guy.
Right.
He saw that they left after he got hit with that tire iron. These 4 fucking idiots try to claim that they didn't leave. And he keeps telling them, "I watched it!"
Eventually they tried to sell it as like confusion. Well, we thought you were going to Minnesota. We were going somewhere else.
Did you? I don't. This bothered me. One of them, Vincent, said, "We got a cab," and somebody else said, "We got a ride."
Yes.
And this went back and forth. We got a cab. No, we got a ride.
What do you think
they
the
were
NWO
lying.
team argues about?
They were lying. And they couldn't get their story straight because they're morons.
Do you think their actual conversations would be any more entertaining
It
than
would have
that?
been better if Vincent said, "We got a cab." The other one said, "We got a ride." And then they went back to Vincent. I mean, we got a ride. And the other one said, "We got a cab." And went back and forth. But no, it went nowhere and it was dumb.
And if Hoovy would have been in a bag,
That's right.
this would have been an even better show.
You're getting to the point where you just refuse to argue.
Yeah.
This is beneath me. Anyway.
Nothing is beneath you, Vinny, when we're reviewing this fucking show.
That's actually a fair point.
You reviewing this show is beneath you more than any argument we've ever had.
So the upshot here is Stevie Ray says they only left because they thought Norton had it handled. And I guess, I don't know if Norton believed him or not, honestly, but the cat came out. He brags about knocking Orton out with 1 kick. So it's the NWO team. It's a bunch of geeks who all do evil things. And Cat comes out. He's feuding with them, but he's also insulting the fans. I can't keep track anymore. Let's see. Horace hits the ring. They have a match. Horace beats him up.
Horace versus Shat on television.
Yeah.
Fucking terrible.
That was in the earlier segment. Actually.
Sucked.
Sonny
Crowbar.
takes the ref. Cat hits him with a crowbar. A ref counts 3. There's a crowbar in the ring.
In the ring.
Yeah.
The ref is counting next to a fucking crowbar. And he just counts 3 like,
Actually, there was 2 crowbars he was counting.
Maybe 3.
Some fucking fan threw a crowbar into the ring, I guess. I better count the pin.
B team runs out. Cat and Sonny flee for their lives. Hey, Ernest Miller can run.
Hey,
That dude's got wheels.
I'll give this thing one positive here. Shad did his dance afterwards, and it was good. It's the only good part of this act.
As Horace is coming to, Stevie Ray promises, "Don't you worry, we'll take care of that fruit booty." Horace says, "Are we in Tampa?"
It's begun.
Stevie says, "No, we're in Pittsburgh." And somebody else says, "It's Cleveland." And Stevie says, "Don't matter." Mean Gene brings Roddy Piper out for a promo. Piper promised to make Ric Flair bleed to death at the pay-per-view.
Cool. Don't think that happened.
Then he starts burying Y2K kids who complain about Piper and Flair being in the main events. He's insulting millennials before millennials were a thing.
Yeah.
He calls out Buffy Bagwell,
Who they called, and I quote, one of the young great athletes in World Championship Wrestling.
How long have you been in the business?
Well, as it turns out, 8 years. Because Piper asked him, and he said 8 years. Piper asked, have you wrestled in Madison Square Garden? Let me ask this slowly. Have you wrestled in Madison Square Garden? And Buff replies, I wasn't born yet.
It's been around for a while.
Confusion reigns.
Well,
no one understands. And then Piper repeats the question, and Bagwell says, never.
This was dumb because WCW wasn't allowed to wrestle in Madison Square Garden. Right?
That's what's dumb about it.
That's also dumb about it.
So Piper says, look.
How about the idea that Roddy Piper is supposed to be a babyface, right? Am I wrong?
I think
so.
I long ago gave
I mean,
up.
Flair's got to be a heel. So Piper's a babyface, but Bagwell's supposed to be a babyface, and Piper's out there burying him for never having wrestled in fucking Madison Square Garden, where WCW would never run a show in their lives.
Thank you.
So Piper says, look, you broke your neck. You fought your way back like a great athlete, and then you made a joke out of it. Brian, you're not going to find it.
What do you want?
You made a joke out of it, Piper says. You scammed everyone. You'd do anything to get to the top. And Bagwell said, that's right. So Piper says, okay, after I beat Flair at the Bash, I'm going to give you the ball. The ball, he says.
The fuck does that mean?
That's a great question in what is supposed to be a real sport.
Well, in a real sport, you would give him the fucking ball.
Not if the real sport was wrestling.
This is pro wrestling.
So he warns Buff, if you fumble the ball, it'll be right down your neck. But Buff agrees. They shake hands, and that's that. So here's my hope on how this goes down. Mm-hmm. I hope that at the pay-per-view, Buff helps Piper win, and to reward him, Piper gives Buff a literal ball. A bowling ball, a volleyball, anything.
Picture being that Roddy gives him a kilt and bagpipes and tries to turn him into the next Roddy Piper.
Marcus Alexander Bagpipes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a good one.
Yeah, Craig.
Was it?
It was a great idea.
Was it really?
I thought so. Then this fucking story.
Are you ready? Remember last week when I said, when X-Pac did the Bronco Buster into the chair and killed himself, and I said, wow, that's the dumbest wrestler I've ever seen. They sure made him look like an idiot.
Right.
It took 6-7 days to top this. Kevin Nash, in his jorts and flip-flops, is walking by a limo. When the door opens, it's Medusa, Miss Madness, and Gorgeous George. And they say, hey, Randy Savage isn't here. We've got champagne. Come party with us.
It's girls' night out, they say.
Girls' night out.
Randy is not here.
And Nash is skeptical. He orders them to get out so he can inspect the car and make sure Savage isn't there.
Excuse me, he said, can you get out so I can check the limo?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So, like, you know.
Check the limo.
Did he check it?
Well, kind of.
He kind of looked around. He said, pop the trunk. And the trunk pops up. And there's no Savage in there, so he throws his bag in.
So you're telling me that when he decided to check out to see if Randy Savage was in the limo, instead of looking in the limo, he looked in the trunk.
Well, he looked at the back of the limo.
Okay.
The
So
divider.
he didn't like look in the front where you drive?
It was a poor inspection.
It was a privacy screen.
And he would pay the price. He cannot believe a man would have the time to have a star would have the temerity to not have his own driver.
Sure. But he might get in the fucking trunk.
Possible.
Well, the same man, Brian, as these three women, Medusa called herself Sedusa, and they asked if he could handle all three of them. A week ago, Kevin Nash sprayed these women with sewage.
Yeah.
Now he thinks they're going to give him a four-way.
Yeah.
And so he gets into the car expecting a jolly old time.
Yes, Vinny.
See how stupid we are as men?
I see how stupid he is. So he gets in the car. They slam the door. The privacy screen drops. Macho Man Randy Savage is driving. He says something about being a smartass. He zips the limo into position, parks it, goes running off, and then
Carmen Electra fucking shows up.
I wish.
Loved her.
That's who was going to be the driver of the white limo.
Loved her.
The white Hummer
The white Hummer.
makes its debut, smashing into the limousine over and over again. And then it drives away. And I guess just to prove he was not actually literally dead, Nash punches out the window and feebly tries to get the car door open before passing out.
Yes. Carmen Electra was going to be revealed as the driver of the white Hummer.
What was their
Why?
connection?
This was a mystery for years.
Yeah.
Well, because Randy Savage is in the middle of a massive, unprecedented midlife crisis.
I see.
As he mentioned earlier, I have enough money to last me my entire life, and I have more women than anyone could use in an entire life.
Randy Savage's entire career was a midlife crisis.
And so he's going to add a fourth woman to his entourage, Carmen Electra.
Wow.
Okay.
But it never worked out, and we never officially found out. Actually, we did find out.
Like 3 years later.
Yeah, they changed the story years later, and it was like, I can't remember who it was.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But yes, who drove the white Hummer is a running joke on really almost until the company goes out of business.
Yes.
The only time it was ever funny was one guy once held up a sign saying, I drove the white Hummer, and his buddy next to him had a sign saying, no, I drove the white Hummer. So, anyway, Kevin Nash is the world's biggest dipshit, and he deserves to be crushed in a limousine by a white Hummer. Bobby Duncombe Jr. versus Rey Mysterio Jr.
This wasn't bad. Ray's pretty good.
Kurt Hennig comes out to do commentary. I guess Nash had a crash. That was funny. We need more heels to tell terrible jokes.
That's
and laugh,
right.
And laugh at their own jokes.
Okay, so about a year later, they revealed that the driver of the white Hummer. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Anybody like to take? You each get one guess.
I will say J.J. Dillon.
Dean Malenko. I don't know.
Kidman.
What? What's he have to do with anything?
It's a great question.
Exactly.
Oh, that's right, because he was shooting with Hogan,
Yes.
and somebody smashed Hogan with the white Hummer,
Yes.
and the door opened and Kidman popped out. And so
Yes.
he revealed, yes, I've been smashing people with white Hummers randomly for years.
Yeah.
Did you know this company's dead?
So what happened
It's
was
true.
Kidman showed up at the building. He made the save for Hack at the beginning of the show.
He went out and bought a car.
And then he got in a white Hummer
And tried to
kill the Macho Man, Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
What's the compression ratio on that bumper?
Should mention, by the way, that Kevin Nash was in the main event of the pay-per-view 6 days later, and they never revealed to us whether or not he was dead. In case you were interested in buying the show.
So on Thursday, they said nothing about Nash.
Nothing.
Wow.
So Hennig's on commentary at ringside. Conan's doing commentary up by DJ Rand. They're going back and forth. And Conan and Ray had come out wearing gas masks just to look cool.
Is that what it did?
Well, that's the idea. And Hennig says, I guess you guys are wearing gas masks because you stink. And Conan says something like, I know you are, but what am I? He says, you stink too. To which Kurt replies, no, I don't. I'm the best. I like Kurt in this match. He's talking about the Rough Rider, where Ray throws his crotch in your face. Moves like that have no place in wrestling. And then Ray hit it, and Kurt was angry, hits the ring for the DQ.
Stupid.
Wrestling was... Brian is right. The wrestling was fun until that dumb finish. And then Conan chases the Cowboys away. Had a commercial for WCW.com.
Oh, man, I howled.
It's got links. Have you played Nash getting crashed? Here's where I just went off on how horny and stupid he must have been to fall for this. Also,
Yeah.
did nobody think about the storyline beyond just saying, hey, we've got poop and car wrecks, it'll be cool? Is that what...
I know it's $50,000 to destroy that limo.
Jeez.
Steiner's came out for a promo. Scott Steiner said, and I quote, all my hooches have a space to fill, and they all tell me I'm the big thrill. So believe me, when I'm between the sheets and I'm, again, quote, pushing their pink,
I was not paying attention.
there isn't a freak that'd ever think I was just an ordinary man. They'll know I'm Superman. That made TV.
You know what's funny is you recapping it and stumbling all over yourself was extremely accurate.
He makes it. It's a Scott Steiner promo.
Yeah.
He's also a mushmouth.
If there was
By the way, I did some math. I just want to mention this very quickly that, and it's math and it's me, so it's not entirely accurate.
Which is also Scott Steiner, by the way.
By my calculations here, WCW would have needed to sell 4,166 pay-per-views solely to pay for the limo they destroyed to get you to want to see Kevin Nash defend his title against the Macho Man Randy Savage. Not a fucking chance.
Rick runs his mouth, says they're the best team of all time. He finds Sting in the dog pound, he'll take him out.
There was a gigantic steroid sign right there in the background.
Yeah.
Nobody confiscated it. I said this last week. I've said it for many weeks. It's true. Rick Steiner, very, very underrated promo here. He was not a great promo, but he came off as like a legit, scary fucking badass. Steiner came off as a guy who was playing a crazy guy. Yeah. Scott. Rick came off as, he's going to kill you.
And not think twice about it.
He's unstable.
Scott might kill you, but he'd rather just talk about his biceps and bang women.
Sure.
Rick Steiner would just kill you.
And
not think
pink.
Twice. And pushing pink. We had a recap of a contortionist coming out of a bag and pouring a bucket of poop on Randy Savage. Disco Inferno came out for a promo. Says, Bagwell, you already dropped the ball. You should have told Piper he stunk. He challenged Buff to come prove he was the man. I was certain that on this impromptu challenge, Buff would come out in his gear all oiled up and go, ready to go. But they actually had him in street clothes for this impromptu match.
Yeah. Save the show.
No.
It's like Hoovy being in a bag. Because he was in his goddamn street clothes, that made this whole thing better.
So, Disco had made fun of Buff for getting kicked out of the Wolfpack, to which Buff's reply was, yeah, I was, but you were never even in it.
Wasn't he?
He thought he was.
I could have sworn that eventually, like, he was. They played the music and everything.
No, but that's a
Why
poor
is he
comeback.
not now? What happened? What did we miss?
It just dissolved. It just stopped being a thing.
Yeah, this show sucks.
So, it had a very basic match. Nobody cared about it. Went through a break. Got into Buff's comeback a bit. He won with a blockbuster, but if we're being honest, this is a match for a guy who they said earlier was going to get the ball. And he did not look like a guy who deserved to get the ball here.
No.
Randy Savage versus Sting. The bell rings. Gorgeous George jumps right on Sting's back. Ref doesn't care. The other women interfering on the floor. Crowds demanding puppies.
I don't know if Shivani realized what he said, but he goes, Randy Savage, after tonight, clearly in the driver's seat Sunday.
That's punny.
That was a good one. I liked it.
So we got powder in Sting's eyes. Miss Madness goes for a top rope Rana. Sting shoves her down. Savage pile drives the ref. Another ref calls to the bell. Everyone boos. So Sting goes for a Stinger Splash on Savage, but Savage pulls Medusa in the way. So she takes the bullet. So now Sting turns around, and Savage is in the corner, and George is basically telling him to stop, but Sting charges like a lunatic anyway, and Savage pushes George out of the way.
Yeah.
So now we have a pecking order in his as a harem. He prefers George to Medusa.
Well, goddamn, I could have told you that.
Yeah. So
He gave her Lanny Poffo's name.
He was Gorgeous George at one point?
Well, the Savage bought the rights to the Gorgeous George gimmick, and it was going to be for Lanny.
I see.
Then he found a super hot blonde,
yeah.
and he was like, fuck. Just sit home and get paid, Lanny.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Lanny was like, okay.
So Steiner's run out and attacks Sting. Lex Luger runs out to make a save with a baseball bat. This is the final segment on the go-home show for the Great American Bash, and the announcers are still questioning whether the World Heavyweight Champion will be able to make it to the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall I hit your music, Vinny?
May as well. We're here.
All right, well, here we go.
The finishes on this show were pin in a hardcore match, clean pin by a guy who was not supposed to be in the match, pin in a Falls Count Anywhere Mexican hardcore match, pin after a crowbar shot, DQ due to run-in, clean pin, and DQ due to referee attack.
Better than Raw.